thing with Diwali is that I don't know what part of the country Diwali is like. I'm not saying Diwali is not a big deal, but I'm just saying most regions I know have a bigger deal than Diwali.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for Maharashtra, Ganpati is a bigger deal. For you, Durga Puja is a bigger deal. Gujarat also Navratri is a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Holi is big deal in North India. I don't know what this state is that Diwali is the biggest festival.
The fact that Diwali is such a big festival for some parts of the country, at least some parts of the country, I only got to know this after I moved to Mumbai. Because before that, when I was in Kolkata, Diwali used to be just a part that comes with Lakshmi Puja and Kali Puja.
So the thing
Uh,
about, like, I used to think Diwalis are like, I mean, in Maharashtra, Diwali is a big deal, but it's
mhm,
still not as big a deal as Ganpati.
right.
And I used to think North India Diwali is a big deal, but what I realized is yes, but Holi is a way bigger deal in
Right.
UP
Oh,
Bihar,
you're right. Yeah.
right? So I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, because also in my understanding, Diwali is a big deal mostly in northern part of the country.
Mhm.
And I got to know so much of like other cultural stuff that happens over Diwali when I moved to Mumbai, that people have this cleaning ka concept, the concept of
Look, ladies and gentlemen, look at this gentleman saying, when I moved to India, Kolkata separatism right here.
I
Look at
said
this.
Mumbai.
Oh my God, go back to Pakistan.
I
No,
said
go back to
Mumbai.
Bangladesh. You go back to Bangladesh.
I'm not
Okay.
even from Bangladesh, but okay.
Well, you said move back to India. So
Oh, I meant move
I
to
mean, no,
Mumbai.
you almost said India and then you said Mumbai. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
You are just making my life difficult while editing this. So when I came, I got to know these other stuff that is attached to Diwali, like the whole joke about the Sean Papdi.
What is
How
the
did
joke about the Sun Papdi?
that it's the same
Oh,
sweet
like
that
you
goes.
just like pass it
Yeah,
around to
yeah.
someone.
I
Yeah,
I haven't had experienced this
I've
growing up.
never, like, actually, because I come from a small town, we have never done that. Like, we do give each other farar. So in Maharashtra, all the snacks are called farar, and in for Diwali, and we do give each other farar. But it's like everything is homemade. Like no one really buys a box of mithai and gives it to another people. You know, like
Mm.
literally as a kid, oh my god, I was saying Diwali is not a big deal, and now so many memories are coming back to me, and I'm very happy. So when I was a kid, my mom and grandmother would make this all this farar, like at least 7 items of things they would make, and then they would put it in a either in a big plate or a bunch of boxes, different things, and then it would be my job to run to the neighbor with the plate, and then all day before Diwali or like the first day of Diwali, I'm just going to different neighbors, giving them our farar. The fun part about that is if you give it in your boxes or plates or whatever, right? So when
Mhm.
they return it, they'll give you their own farad, right? But that's not, so that's transactional between families, right? That my family gives you something, your family gives me back the same utensils with your food, right?
Mhm.
But the fun is because I am the messenger, I also get to eat it there when
Yeah.
I go to give it to them.
Mhm.
It's so good.
For
It's
us, this
amazing.
exchange.
And it is better because in other people's homes they ask you, tumhe kya chahiye, what do you want, which ones of these do you want to eat. At home it's just like, you don't like this, your problem, you're eating everything. Anyway, continue.
For us, this exchange of sweets happens on the day of Dashami,
Mhm.
so last day of Durga Puja.
For Dashera we have gold. I mean, we don't give real gold, but we give those
Mm.
leaves. I don't know, do you have that thing?
No, no.
You don't know how to think? I don't know if that's also a thing over when I grew up, I assumed everything that happens in Maharashtra happens all over India, but clearly not. So, you know the tree of Shami tree.
No.
So, I don't know if it has a different name, but basically the story of that Shami tree was that um, I don't know who.
I think if you're
Some,
talking about the golden leaves of from some trees, I think I know what you're talking about.
they're
But
not
please go ahead.
golden, the leaves, but like heart shaped leaves it has,
Yeah, yeah.
like, or more like apple shaped leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean that tree is auspicious on Dashera for some reason, because I think someone in the Ramayana hid there weapons in that the trunk of that tree. There's a big, I don't know what it's called, the hole in the trunks of the trees. Where owls and stuff live.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so there, and then they took it or something. And Dashera is the day when Ram won
I think it's
over.
called Holo.
Hollow, yes, exactly. So that was the day when whatever the Ram Ravan fight got
happened.
over, war got over. So that is why that tree is auspicious, because it protected those weapons or whatever. But yeah, we give each other those leaves and call it gold.
What is interesting is, even though we do Durga Puja and a lot of the country celebrates Dashera and kind of so Navaratri, not exactly Dashera, and they overlap. They're the same days, but the reason is slightly different. Both are about the advent of the goddess, but why the goddess came to earth is different, because for a lot of the country, it's the time when Ram called for her, for her blessings before the war. For us, it's not that. For us, it's the time when she came to kill the buffalo demon, Mahishasur.
Yeah, see, that's the thing though, right? Because that's the thing with Diwali also. That when you say for us, it's not that thing, that doesn't mean your mythology doesn't have those stories. It's just like this story is more important on this day, but it's not, right? And the same thing with Diwali, because my boss was asking me what is Diwali, which is a dumb question. People should know what Diwali is. I mean, people should know something. I'm not saying people should know everything, but it's
People
important.
should know at least about the lights, that Diwali is a festival of lights.
Exactly. So people should know everything, something. Maybe she knows that and she wanted more information. I don't know. But the hard thing about Diwali or any other holiday, as you pointed out, is that there are like 6 different stories that somehow coincidentally happened on the same holiday. And which one do I tell you now? Like in Diwali, there's Dhanteras, then there is that Narak Chaturdashi. Narak Chaturdashi.
Bhut Chaturdashi for us. It's called Bhut Chaturdashi for us.
So Narak Chaturdashi there was another demon, right, called Narkasur, and I think same Durga only killed him. So that's the thing. Then there is Lakshmi Puja, and then there is the New Year's. So all of that is there, and most people don't know enough mythology to say why are these 5 important days one after the other. Maybe there are 5 different stories for all we know, right? Bhai Dooj has its own story कि यमराज जो था, यमराज अपनी बहन के पास गया था गिफ्ट लेके कुछ तो. So Yamraj went to his sister to meet her, and that's why the Bhai Dooj. Now it's a sister brother holiday. But like, why did these random things happen together? Are they chronologically separated, or is it the same year that Ram won and Narkasur was killed and Yam went to meet his sister? All these questions remain unanswered for a normal, like average Indian human being, right? So it's very hard to explain to anyone what is Diwali, because it's 5 days. Yeah.
Even for people who takes pride in the amount of mythology they know, like we have a fair deal of knowledge about some stuff in my mythology, like we have read stuff, but still we do not know all the stories.
Exactly.
It's just impossible to know all the stories.
All the stories, and it's impossible to know all the stories.
And since you don't know all the stories, to make the connections and the correlations, like why are they occurring at the same time, is even harder.
Exactly. So like, 1, we don't know all the stories. 2, we don't know the chronology of these stories. 3, we don't know why they're happening at the same time of the year. And 4, we don't know all the versions of this story, because the same story can have different versions in different states, or even within a state, right? So what am I supposed to tell anyone? What is Diwali? I'll just tell firecrackers, lights, food, and the firecrackers also, I have to explain that, it was a thing, now it's not as much of a thing, which is a good thing, whatever.
But it used to be a big thing at one point.
That's a very slippery slope, right? Like, I'll say it, and I don't know if it's controversial or not, but then you can always argue, firecrackers are Chinese, so what? When Ram was in Ramayana, did we know about firecrackers? So yeah. So it's hard to tell. And like, what my parents used to tell me when I was younger was like, we do all this stuff at Diwali. Like, why do we have so much? My biggest highlight for Diwali was Farar, right? Because we have so much food.
What is
And
Farah?
Farar is like chakli, shankarpale, ladu, chiuda, ये सब कुछ, मतलब everything you put in a plate and eat. And Diwali, 3-4 days before Diwali, you start. Twice a day you eat this amazing stuff.
Oh,
And you keep eating.
that's the plate you made last year and you posted a picture
Yeah,
of it
yeah,
and you
exactly.
reposted it to this year.
I mean, the point of the post this year wasn't the picture. They Instagram won't let me post a story without a picture. The story was the story was the joke, and I think most people didn't get the joke.
Hmm.
Did you get the joke?
I didn't see it properly there.
So joke was Diwali exists, me to Farar, जब दीप जले आना, जब शाम ढले आना. Do you get the joke? My guess.
Anyway, so the whole Narka Chaturdashi thing you talked about, we don't have Narka Chaturdashi. What we have is Bhut Chaturdashi, which has got something to do with ghosts and like and
Okay.
ancestors and 14 diyas.
Okay, so we have that Pitu Pandhavda after Diwali. So we have 2 weeks of that ancestor thing after Diwali. And this is again very interesting because how do multiple parts of the world have ghost related things in October and November?
In October and November, this always gets me. Like we talk about Halloween, we talk about the Day of the Dead, which is like of
Exactly.
Hispanic origin, and then you have these kind of things in India and in several parts of the world, and everything happens more or less around the same time. Bhut
Exactly.
Chaturdashi used to be such a thing, like people would be scared. Like at one, we would get to hear stories. Like since my mom is from a village, I would get to hear stories about how people are scared. So I think the day after Bhut Chaturdashi is when the Lakshmi Puja happens, and this Lakshmi Puja is very different from the Kojagari Lakshmi Puja, which happens immediately after Durga Puja happens.
We know when Kojagiri Purnima ends. We just do different things on it.
Right.
Let's continue.
Yeah. So my mom was telling me stories of what used to happen for this Lakshmi Puja in their village, and it's very interesting. I was telling my mom to just write this down, otherwise these stories won't remain anywhere. Just because I got to know this story, I know them now. But if you hadn't had told me, this would get lost. So my mom was telling that how in the morning, her grandma would go, and they would make. So I don't know what you call those. Sholte, we call it sholte, which is in a diya, the thing you light, the cotton,
Marathi,
the
we call
cotton
it
thing.
Vaat.
Yeah, so that's a cotton swab kind of a thing that you light in a diya, and the diya has oil in it, and the fire is sustained by the oil. So they used to make it from dhoti ke kapde, from the clothes that people used to make dhoti out of, and they would take big bases of banana leaves, and then they would make two idol sort of things over there. One idol is going to be of what is called Alokhi, which is the opposite of Lakshmi. That would be made from cow dung. And there would be separately a figure of Lakshmi, which is made from ground rice. And they would make also two miniature versions of the figure, which are probably like children of Lakshmi. And then they would make something called, I forgot what she said, but it's basically a mix of rice, fried rice, fried as in not fried rice, not the Chinese fried rice thing, like rice, not boiled, fried just like that, that hardened rice, fried, um, and 5 kind of grams cooked and mixed together. And apparently they would have 14 kind of shark, green vegetables, green leafy vegetables, 14 kind of that, and this mixture. And people would come throughout the day. So this would be like everyone is making these things at home, and everyone would go to every other house and eat a little bit from there.
We have similar at Sankranti, not right now.
Sankranti happened. Oh yeah, Sankranti. Yes.
January. And I
Yep.
wonder if this has something to do with the weather because it gets cold faster where you are from than where I
Mhm.
am from. So probably by Sankranti, it's as cold in Maharashtra as it's cold in Bengal in like Diwali. I don't know why that is there, but yeah. But I mean, my guess. I mean, one thing I know about Diwali, like there's so many. I don't know what word I can use in English, but like Lokajivan things about Diwali. Like I can't really explain the
Pop
historical thing.
culture.
Not pop culture, not pop. Like pop culture is like globalized all over India,
Hey, I
like
mean,
internet kind of a thing. But
locally
like
popular culture.
yeah, like just like people's lives. So like for example, the biggest things that older people would tell us what is special about Diwali. One is it gets cold enough, so we eat fried things and we eat a lot of sesame seeds because
Mhm.
fried food and sweet food is supposed to protect you from the incoming cold months.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. So I think the Farar of Diwali, I mean, because that's the biggest highlight for me. I don't even care about anything else. It's just the food.
Mhm.
Uh, it is in Diwali because colder weather you should eat like fatty foods and sesame heavy foods so that they protect you. Well, it has completely gone out of hand now, but that was the original logic of it. The second thing is especially because I come from a small village, um, and a lot of bathrooms are like outside the house, right in the yard.
Mhm.
A lot of old people still believe that the Narak Chaturdashi, that's we call it Pahili Angol, means
Mhm.
first bath.
Mhm.
It's not a first bath, but it's they still that is their first hot bath of the year.
Mhm.
So that is until then they're taking cold baths. And now that summer and monsoons have ended, that day is when first time they heat water and use it for the bath.
Mhm.
And I always took a hot bath, but there are still old people out there
Yeah.
that still
Mhm.
follow it. They were just like, no, no, Diwali is 5 days away. I'm gonna power through. I will do my first hot bath on that day.
Wow.
So it's just like yeah. So I mean, I don't know what to say about food and food. I can say a lot about, but crackers and whatever. But there's just these things, and I mean, it all just smells of it's mostly a weather change festival, right? Like
Mhm.
how Thanksgiving is a mostly a fall festival. They are just like it's just constantly rebranded with time.
It's kind of interesting to see how faith and beliefs make people resilient to so many things. Like old people taking baths in cold water in winter
Hmm.
just because they believe that we should be doing this.
Exactly, and I mean, I also partly think that it is. We don't. I mean, completely believe that we don't understand everything.
Okay.
I mean, it might be partly psychological, but it partly also might be physiologically helpful to them in some way. There might be
Mhm.
some real benefit to
Mhm.
doing this regularly, over the years.
Every year.
Um, I mean, of course, I wouldn't advise it if they came all the way here, where it gets much colder.
Mhm.
But where we live, it's possible that there is some benefit to it.
Vivekananda wrote this in his diary when he was, no, in a letter that he wrote to somebody in India from Chicago, that
Mhm.
there was this other Jain monk with him who was
Mhm.
also in Chicago at the time,
Mhm.
who refused to eat anything
Mhm.
other than rice and dal when he was here, forget about all non-veg and anything.
Mhm.
And he would hardly wear too many layers, even in that January cold in Chicago.
Mhm.
And people were amazed around him that this monk has come all the way from India, a Jain monk,
Mhm.
who lives life like, what's the word? I don't remember the word, but there is a word for this.
I know what you're
Yeah.
going toward. I can't remember the word.
We learned this word when we were preparing for GRE.
Mm-hmm.
One who doesn't care about the material world at all, like in his own life.
It's the opposite of Epicurean, right? I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, another story that my mom was telling, actually a part of the story
Mm-hmm.
is after they make the alakhi, the opposite of the goddess, they need to take her out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't have any place in the house. So they will take her out of the house with respect. And how they would give the respect, they would take sugar canes, and they would take trays, bamboo trays. We
Mm-hmm.
call them kulo.
Mm-hmm.
So they would hit the bamboo trays with
Mm-hmm.
the sugar canes to make a sound, a
Mm-hmm.
rhythmic sound, and then they would march all the way from the house to the nearest um, the banyan tree, or
Mm-hmm.
like some auspicious tree, and
Mm-hmm.
they would leave the alakhi
Mm-hmm.
near its root. So
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, when kids would go out in the morning, they would see these statues, these idols made from cow dungs, sitting underneath every auspicious trees, and
Mm-hmm.
that would be apparently a beautiful sight.
Oh, which reminds, I don't know, just because you said sugarcane, it reminds me of another interesting thing that happens in Diwali. After Diwali, around at least Maharashtra, I don't know. I'm pretty sure some versions exist somewhere else in India, but at least some of my neighbors do it. It's called Tulsi Lagna. So you have a Tulsi tree, right? A plant, Tulsi plant. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Tulsi plant. They take Tulsi plant and get it married to Krishna, and it's like a proper mini wedding. Like you go there and there is this, like the head of that family is gonna it like say the mantras to get it married. Like the plant is there, little
How
Krishna is
nice.
there. It's so cute. It's the cutest, and then you get to eat food also, like prasad. So it's nice.
It's damn sweet.
And like they come to tell you ki tonight we have our tulsi lagna, so come. In the morning they come to tell you, in the evening you come. There is a lagna in our house, and they'll do everything they do in a wedding.
You need to send me the spellings of these things sometime offline,
Mm-hmm.
because I would have to write the
Mm-hmm.
subtitles for this, and it's going to be a tremendous task for me.
Okay, but
Clearly.
as you write, if I don't send, as you write, text me, and I
Hmm.
will send you.
Sometime next week, maybe. Um, yeah, and my mom was also telling me about a pradeep they used to make. So a
Mhm.
pradeep is how do you describe a pradeep? Diya,
Yeah,
basically, but like a big diya.
yeah, it's just like special lamp. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lamp. So
yeah.
they would make this lamp out of ground rice.
Mm-hmm.
So perfectly white lamp with five faces,
Mm-hmm.
and they would light um,
Mm-hmm.
fire on all the five faces.
Yeah. Oh, so that one we call pancharti in Marathi.
So the ones we usually use, which is made of metal, some metal, is called Pancha Pradeep for us. But this is Sukh Pradeep apparently,
Mm-hmm.
which they would made out of rice, ground rice,
Nice.
and it is supposed to be let burning all night. And then my mom was telling that her only living aunt right now, she would go in the morning, and my mom's dad, they were four brothers, so they had like four houses around the same courtyard, and this aunt would take the pradeep with
Mm-hmm.
the oil in it and take it to every single house, all those four houses, and let them have some of the oil, because all the oil is mustard oil, which we use for literally everything. Almost everyone would like put it on their forehead and on their hair,
Mm-hmm.
and then she would finally break that lamp. And my mom was also telling that after she came to Kolkata,
Mm-hmm.
so this Lakshmi Puja is a very West Bengali thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is also West Bengali. So when she came to Kolkata to my grandfather's house, that side, uh, apparently they would eat the pradeep after that, because
Oh,
it's made from rice.
fun.
So they would break it, then they would mix it with kela, with banana,
Mm-hmm.
and they would make a dish out of it, and they would eat the pradeep.
Mm-hmm.
It's so it's so interesting, and like it's, I don't know, it's funny also in a way.
So I have a fun joke.
Mhm.
It's gonna be lame. Okay. So
Okay.
brace yourself. So you have this Lakshmi and Alakshmi, right? I know it's
Mhm.
Alokhi, but it comes from Alakshmi.
Yeah.
So you have this Alakshmi and Alakshmi.
Hmm.
So if you offer this Lakshmi Kela as an offering,
Banana. Hmm.
then you should offer yourself to Alakshmi because you're a Kela.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so I mean fun stuff. Stuff is coming back. I think I have lived here too long and I have forgotten most things. I mean, I haven't been home for Diwali since I came here. Okay, I have this issue with Diwali, okay? Not Diwali, any festival. Now India is a diverse country, right? Not everyone observes Diwali. But no one is exempt of Diwali. If you live in in India, right, there is you cannot escape it. You will hear firecrackers. You will be bothered by them no matter what.
Mhm.
You will see the lights and feel happy by them no matter what, right?
And everyone
And
celebrates Diwali to some extent or the other.
some people don't. I mean, in the sense that they'll celebrate in school because their schoolmates are, but as a family, they don't necessarily, right? Like
True.
it depends on your religion. It depends on how conservative you are. All of those things.
Yeah.
But anyway, anyone saying Happy Diwali to someone, the response cannot be thank you. The response to Happy Diwali is
Happy
Happy
Diwali to you
Diwali.
too. Yeah.
This comes up why? Because if I say if I say Eid Mubarak to someone, the response is Eid Mubarak.
Yeah.
The response is not thank you. Whoever is listening, please take note. Okay. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Have you
I
guys ever made your own firecrackers? My how do you say, middle uncle? So not my dad was the eldest. There was an youngest uncle. This uncle was in the middle.
most people will understand what most Indian people will understand what middle uncle.
Middle uncle is.
Yeah.
So my middle uncle would make firecrackers by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to have this big tubudi. What are they called?
Bag.
No, the ones that look like pots, and they would have sparkles coming
Anar.
out. Anar, yeah,
In
anar.
Marathi, we just call it Zhad, which is tree.
We call it tubdi,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think means anything in particular.
Tumbadi we have in Marathi, like the movie Tumbad.
Oh
That
no, this
means
is
bag.
tubdi.
Yeah. So, but that means bag. But I don't know if that's the same word. But anyway,
So
continue.
so he would mix like potassium substances, sodium substances, and he would put those things out in the sun for 2 days, 3 days for it to work well. And they used to actually work really well.
Mm-hmm.
And our roof was really big, and we used to do firecrackers on there. But we have never done um, the loud firecrackers. We've never done that. And chocolate bomb, the chocolate bomb is the one I think the rest of India calls it sutli bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Green colored, comes with a thread attached to it that you have to light. Yeah. So we used to call that chocolate bomb. We still call that chocolate bomb for some reason in Kolkata. The house beside us, the kids would throw chocolate bombs
Mm-hmm.
on the street, and we used to get so mad because they used to be so loud. And we were all there for the lights, to see the lights, to enjoy the lights. Loudness is, oh my god. And then suddenly, when I was growing up, at one point I realized that the city has been engulfed with these chocolate bombs. They're everywhere. There's another one we used to have. I think every state, every city in India has it. Almost every city, whoever celebrates the Diwali. I don't know what are those bombs called, but we used to call them Kali Potka, which is a string of these loud firecrackers attached to it.
Ladi.
Yeah, what?
In Hindi, they call it Ladi. In
Ladi.
Marathi,
Okay,
we call
huh?
it Mal. So it's not a bomb, it's just a bunch of firecrackers in a line.
Yeah, yeah. And they were, oh my
Yeah.
god, it's such a headache.
Yeah, so I was like a disappointment in terms of loud firecrackers because I didn't like loud firecrackers. I only
Mm.
like the pretty ones. So
Full
I like
Jari.
I like the full jadi, I like the jhad, I like the
Uh,
chakkar. These are the three things I would love. Like,
Zard is the one we have a stick and there is fire coming out of the
no,
other
no, no.
side.
Jhad is the
Oh, the
tree.
tree thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jhad, Fuljadi, and Chakkar. That's all I would like.
I
I
would actually love the mashal. We used to call that mashal. Mashal is the stick which one side you hold and from the other side fire would come out. I used
No,
to love
that
that,
sounds scary.
but while growing up, I realized that this causes so much of smoke. Just one of the sticks would cause so much of smoke. I used to hate it. But I would love that otherwise. Like it looks brilliant, beautiful. And I got very interested in rockets. So we would run around the roof and finding glass bottles to put the rockets in there and light it. Just once, I made my dad buy something called whistle rockets. So that's the one which they go up, they make a whistling sound, very shrill whistling sound. And the first time we fired one, my grandpa got scared. The sound was so loud.
I only like those three, and that's all I would want. And I just not only disliked the rest. I was terrified of loud firecrackers. Like literally all Diwali, I would be like your dog, you know. Like I would just be whining at home. I was straight up terrified. I mean, I can't tell you how terrified I was. Like I felt bad for myself. I was that terrified. Um, so and like at some point in my life, I got less scared, and a lot of my friends slash neighbors encouraged me. Ki, oh, this is fine. You will get over it, you know. And then I started playing some firecrackers, like the loud ones. And I would like light it and still cover my ears. I was still scared, but I would at least light it, you know. And then one day I got burned by one, and then I went back to being terrified. But yeah, so I mean, my dad would buy some laddies and some bombs, and he would play one every morning. And he would be like, sorry, beta, I have to do at least one. So he would do that one. And I will just do the jhad and pui chakkar and all that stuff. So yeah, I was a very light firecracker budget child. Every time
In,
I think about all this, I feel like how lucky my parents got to get such a low maintenance child. But yeah, there were ticklies. You know, did you have those guns in which you put like those
oh, I love them.
little ones? Really
Yeah,
little ones?
cap guns. We used to call them
So
cap
those
guns.
I was afraid of.
I used to love them.
And my grandmother used to like when she was a kid, only those were a thing. And they didn't even have guns or anything, right? So they literally just brought those and put a stone on them to make sounds. That's how
I just want to point it out to the audience who are not from India. When we say guns, we mean toy guns.
they know. I mean, do you think Americans care? They give real guns to children. So whatever.
No,
Uh,
that's the whole thing. Like we need to specify that these are not real guns. We don't give real guns to children.
True. But yeah, my grandmother literally one time showed me, see, you can just take this and you can put a rock on it. And I could, like, now in hindsight, I realized that she was almost like, what's wrong with you, child? Play with firecrackers. I was just not into it.
Do you remember those disgusting firecrackers like snake bombs? No, snake
Oh,
crackers.
those were so bad. They smelled
Ah,
bad. They looked bad. Like, why were they a
so
thing?
gross. Oh my god.
Why were they a thing at all? I still don't know. Like, who was buying those things? Like, I mean, clearly some kids were buying those things, but why?
But I remember one thing when I would have younger kids around me, including my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
I would actually fire the rockets holding the bottle in my hand.
Oh, boys and this thing, man, I don't understand this. Like,
But
why?
I think that just happens 1 year. But yeah, it's a big thing. Boys do that.
You know what is keeping boys alive?
What?
Patriarchy.
Yep.
Yeah.